time is 7:02. We'll call the May 18th Special Board of Education meeting to order. Ms. Greer, would you please call the roll?
Roll call list. Okay, Goodfriend? Present. Hoda?
Here.
Klein?
Yes.
Alvin?
Here.
Lunkins? Here. Copeland? Here. And Smith?
Here. Thank you. We have quorum. The agenda was provided to everyone. Are there any questions or issues with the agenda as presented? Then if there's no exception, we will pass the agenda by unanimous consent. Any objection? Okay, the agenda is hereby passed. We will move into presentation, superintendent search, first round interview finalist, Mr. Angel Abdullahad.
Good evening.
Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Education of Oak Park Schools, I'd like to welcome Angel Abdullahad back for his second round interview. Mr. Abdullahad is currently superintendent of the Madison School District in Madison Heights, Michigan. I'll take a few minutes to describe our format. The interview may take up to 90 minutes. It will begin with a presentation on the topic provided by the board. Following your presentation, there'll be 18 questions. Toward the end of the interview, time permitting, we will give you an opportunity to ask questions of the board or make closing remarks. We will indicate if time is becoming an issue, if there's a need to pick up the pace of the responses. Audience feedback may be submitted by using the form provided for this purpose. That is on our website under the Superintendent Search tab, or and if you're here with us in the back of the room, on half sheets of paper we have a QR code that you can scan with your camera function on your cell phone that will take you directly to the form to provide feedback. Although the task of choosing our next superintendent is the responsibility of the Board of Education as the elected representative of the community, we value and consider the input of our stakeholders in the process. Mr. Abdullahad, you may begin your presentation on the following topic. How would you increase consistent student and staff attendance after 2 years of COVID disruption and learning loss?
Thank you, President Alvin. Would you like me to stand up or just present from here?
Whatever your pleasure. If you work
Well, I've
well
been sitting
standing,
all day.
okay, all
I've been
right.
sitting all
Whatever
day.
works well with you.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So as I started reflecting on, is that me?
It wasn't something got unplugged, maybe?
Somebody tripped on something.
Yeah, I just walked over this camera.
You tripped on
So as I started reflecting on addressing staff and student attendance after 2 years of COVID, and I started out with a quote here: "Happy and engaged and motivated employees will have a direct positive impact on the company," or in this regards, the school district. They'll lead by example. Others will see their successes and emulate them. Productivity dramatically increases. The overall mood improves. The end result is that both the district, the staff, and the students who are now in the flow generally greatly benefit. That'll work too.
Why don't you come around this way?
So I wish we'd have done the stakeholder meetings before the presentation, because I learned a lot just by talking to people, and here I was just basing it on what I was gathering from the website and some previous board meetings. But so what are the issues? We know that inconsistency exists in attendance, both with students and staff. Have we spoken to staff? I kind of talked to the staff a little bit today, so I kind of got a little bit of feel of their concerns and why, in having their perspective. spoke to the students a little bit, but that topic did not come up. But that's the first thing that I'm gonna do is go back and talk to the students just to see what's going on. And what does the data tell us? So I know that absenteeism right now exists in the district. Right. Staff morale is low. That's the information that I got from some of the staff meetings. High turnover rate. One of the staff conversations that we had, they said that they lost 49 teachers just beginning of this year. So they kind of gave me a little bit of insight on what's going on. 49 teachers is a lot. COVID or not COVID, that's a lot. Student achievement data shows major decline across all four. That is nationwide. So that is just understood. I got Harvard study and NWA data that supports that. And that is in every district in Oakland County. Again, but with high poverty and low socioeconomic, the gap is wide. These are the 4 priorities that I thought would reflect your concerns. Addressing the impact of COVID on students, educators, and faculty. Promoting equity in student access to educational resources and opportunities. Supporting a diverse educator workforce and professional growth to strengthen student learning. And meeting student and staff social, emotional, and learning growth needs. Those are some of the things that I saw from one of your board meetings as you were discussing the topics. I was just trying to jot down notes as you were, even though it was not in the overall arching, you were saying some of those things. And so I'm like, well, I should address those too since they're concerns. So here's the data. On the one on the left is math. The one on the right is reading. And this is a Harvard study. So if you look at, the blue is high poverty, I believe that's green, low poverty, and red is mid poverty. If you look at the decline, the majority of the decline is in high poverty and in mid poverty. That's the biggest, well, they're all declining, but if you look at all 3, you'll see, if you look at the blue one, which is high poverty, the decline's drastic. And this is ELA, reading, and math, which is the same thing that the state of Michigan measures for proficiencies. This is NWA data, and this is nationwide study. So on the left and on the right, they're comparing 2019 before COVID with 2021 post-COVID. If you look at here, in 2019, if you look at, say, 3rd grade students, they should be scoring, or they were scoring 188.9. That's what their scores were. If you look at post-COVID, 185. So that's a 5-point drop. What is a 5-point drop means? Well, typically on a year, 10 points in the lower L constitutes a year's worth of growth. 10 points. So the data shows you that you're at least a half a year behind because of COVID, if not more. So 10 to 12 points yearly should be in lower L, kindergarten, 1st grade, on a normal year's worth of growth. For middle school, it's 5 to 8 points. So this is just a breakdown of it nationally, though. This is not Oakland County. This is all of the United States. This is the same thing, but with math. The other one was reading. So here, priority 3 and priority 4, supporting a diverse educator workforce and professional growth to strengthen student learning. The biggest impact on student learning is the teacher that displaced before them. When you have a substitute teacher, like right now currently you have 14 vacancies. 14 vacancies in this district. That means 14, say, times 30 is about 500 students, well, 420 students are not being taught by highly effective, highly qualified teachers. Now, all of them are not teaching roles, right? Some of them are support staff. But that's Oak Park, that's just based on the postings that you have that are outstanding right now. And meeting staff professional, social, emotional needs. So these are some of the things that we currently have in place at Madison that I would like to introduce here. So, care. What is care? It's a support system for adults. If adults or staff have a dependency issue because of COVID, some depression, these are resources that are free. You sign up one time as a whole district, and it's open to every individual that they could reach out, and it's completely confidential. Because a lot of times, they will not go to HR. Why? Because they think if I go to HR and tell them that I have a dependency, or if I have an issue, that they might use that against me in my workplace. So care is completely independent, and I'm not saying that that would happen, it's just that's the fear that some people have. Social emotional committees for each building. So I'm not sure if that exists, but that is a big factor. Everyone having someone else to lean on is a huge factor in having morale lifted. Sick and personal day cash-in program, you have that, but it's not as, I think you have $1,000 for 10 days. That's $100 a day. So as a teacher, if I'm looking at that, $100 a day is not worth it for me to motivate me to come in. So in 2018, and we have this, if you look at our collective bargaining agreements, we have 10 days for $2,000. So everyone is afforded 12. You could cash in 10 for $2,000. We nearly have 45% of the staff cashing that in. But what does that mean? It means they're in front of the students teaching. It means they're not out sick and a sub is in front of them. And that's if you could get a sub, right? Because substitute, the position of substitute right now is almost non-existent. We can't, you know, if I put in for 10 floaters in our district, maybe one will get covered. If you have teachers coming in, you save money. On average, you spend $150 for sub coverage. That's your cost. So $200, maybe it's not equivalent, but what is the worth of having a teacher in front of the kids? And isn't that what you're trying to, your number one goal is what? Absenteeism. So how do you do that? You incentivize. Incentivizing is only one way. If people are still not happy, you need to get to the root cause of why aren't they happy. Restructuring the salary scale. I'm not saying there's anything wrong, but those are ideas, and you wanted, based on the conversations you were having, you wanted to have some ideas. I believe Vice President Hoyda said, well, you know, we own the ideas even if we don't hire. So there you go. These are free, even if I'm not your man. Restructuring the pay scale for staff. Incentivizing attendance. Incentivizing performance. You know, in the private sector, if you do well, your performance wage goes up. Why aren't we doing that here? Is there not a difference where someone will just do the status quo? I'll just do the bare minimum. That's what they want me to do, I'll do it. But then, you incentivize it. I could get $2,000 if I'm rated highly effective, or $1,000 if I'm rated highly effective. Well, what do I need to do? I don't have to be, I have to be present, or I can't be chronically absent. No problem, I'm going to do it. To get additional PD, I'm going to do it. So, does this meet everyone? No. Some won't do it, but I guarantee you some will. Some people are motivated by financial gains. Some people are motivated by both, by having that relationship with the student and building that up, feeling valued, and incentives for them. Increase student engagement by introducing multiple Schedule B. So if you look at Schedule B, right now you're limited on what you could offer, what the teachers could do after school, before school. You're limited. If you put a miscellaneous one in there, then what you do is say, do you have ideas? Hey, I want to do a chess club. I want to do a drone club. Then you incentivize that teacher. Then you capture what your interests are. You might be interested in, I believe you were talking about dance, one of the meetings. Was that you? Cheer or dance? No?
No,
Okay. Well, all right. So if someone is engaged in dance or cheer or cheerleading, then they could create that. They could create that club. You incentivize it, and then the teacher is involved. If the teacher's involved, now they're staying after school. Then you're reintroducing the school as the hub of the community. That's what it once was. So our goal is to re-envision Oak Park so it could continue to be the hub of the community. Right now, I was talking to one of the librarians and said, you know, from 3 to 4, we had to close the library down because kids were congregating. So could it be they're congregating there waiting for a ride, or they don't want to go home, but they're getting kicked out of school? Why? Let's create some programs after school so they could be motivated to stay here. Those are just some things. You want to change culture and morale. It has to start by changing your thinking and your mindset. And it has to be a whole community. It can't be one person. One person can make a difference, but when an entire community changes this mindset, then you'll see your end product, which is what? You want to reintroduce the culture that Oak Park once was, right? So you could bring back, I believe, Trustee Smith, you said you want to bring back the students that reside in the school district boundaries back here. Did you not say that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So what does the research tell us? In Harvard Business Review, McCarthy outlines how companies can maximize profit. We're not trying to do profit, we're trying to get output here. And profitability by making their employees feel excited and energized in their roles. Every teacher at one point went into education because they had a passion to help kids. But if you don't feed that fire, what happens? It goes out. So my question to the board, to everyone, is what are we doing to keep that fire going? He points out of what we often see with sports stars. If you are highly engaged and love what you're doing, you become immersed in the game. Time loses its meaning as the athlete is hyper-focused on the momentum and living it to the fullest. When I was a teacher, my wife's like, why don't you just get a futon and sleep there? Because there was things to do after. And I enjoyed hanging out. I enjoyed hanging out with the kids. And so I'm like, all right, get a futon. She's like, no, I was kidding. I don't want you to get a futon. But I enjoyed that. And I guarantee you there's a lot of people, a lot of community members, a lot of teachers that enjoy that, but somehow feel unvalued. And so when someone feels unvalued, what are they going to do? They're just going to give you the bare minimum. And so this is where the results are now. When you get the bare minimum, because someone doesn't feel valued or a group of people don't feel valued, this is the outcome. Positive psychology. The founder of this movement, Dr. Martin Seligman of the University of Pennsylvania, calls for a model of well-being referred to as PERMA, an acronym for positive emotion engagement relationships, meaning and accomplishments. If a worker possesses these traits, they will likely outperform. Can I get a sip of water? I'm talking
yeah.
all day.
Get one too.
So these are some questions, and I had to turn this in Sunday, because he's like, you got to turn it in Sunday, you got to be fair. So I'm like, all right, Sunday. Then I wish I would have done it after I met with the stakeholders, because I know some of these answers now, but you know, at that time, Did we have social workers in every building? I got the answers to those because I asked those questions. Wellness response team, I don't know if we do have that or not. Behavior intervention team for high need students. So I'm not talking about special ed in 504 because they know that at 10 days there's interventions in place. But shouldn't those interventions be there for regular ed students too? I mean, if they work for special education, why wouldn't they work for regular students? If I need a timeout break to decompress, to lower my anxiety, and it works for a special ed student, why wouldn't it work for a regular student? Don't we as adults sometimes just give me 5 minutes, I just need to calm down? How many times have we said that? Just give me 5 minutes to calm down and then I'll get back to you. And then we calm and then we move on, but we don't do that. Or do we do that? That's a question that I would ask in high school or middle school. Paraprofessionals, I know you have a lot of vacancies in paraprofessionals right now, but they are key. And if you could get a paraprofessional who's a mom or a grandma that works in the community, they have the biggest impact of them all. Because those kids have an instant connection to that person. I mean, I was just walking to high school and someone said, hey, do you remember Coach Shep? I'm like, yeah, I remember Coach Shep. And it's just an instant connection. It was an instant connection. So I knew once I had that connection, then the conversation's more authentic. So a paraprofessional who is in the community, who lives here, who has children here, are more likely to be involved in helping not only their child, but the neighborhood kid too. And I told the high school students, I said, I'm going to be hanging out at the high school. I said, I'm going to be already, when I get myself a high school, I was showing the kids, I'm like, hey, that used to be Mr. Murphy and Mr. Murray's assistant principals. I used to get sent there all the time. And then I showed, you remember Mr. Murphy and Mr. Murray? Then I walked by another office, and I said, you know, that used to be the counseling. But you need someone there. The kids need to see you there. I met Coach Carter, and I saw the instant connection that he had with the kids. I mean, I'll be honest, I was trying to steal him from you guys a while ago, but it didn't work out. But he had an instant connection to the kids. Why? He's involved in their life. It's not a job, and I guarantee you, coaching does not pay a lot. So if coaching does not pay a lot, if it's not the money, then why do people have such passion? It's because they love what they do. And if they love what they do, performance comes in. Now, he was hard on himself. He's like, well, we didn't win the last one. I'm like, well, you know, you can't win them all. But passion drives and beats everything else. There's a lot of times that if people feel valued and passion is there, that they're willing to let go of compensation because the passion is there and the drive is there. Meeting with student committees, like the group that I met with the kids, that should be going on all the time. They're going to tell you. The kids that I met today and I talked, I mean, they were open, they were talking, so you need to do that constantly, even if it's not me. Whoever your superintendent is needs to go there and talk to all the kids in a smaller setting where the kids feel comfortable and safe to speak up without any other adults kind of influencing anything like that. I gotta check on my time. I don't want to do an hour presentation and leave you guys. So this is where we are right now. This is post-COVID, approaching recovery for students and staff. Right now, your high school teacher-student ratio is like 1:30. That's in your contract. How much learning gap can you really close when there's 30 students to one teacher? Not a lot. There's not a lot that you could do to close achievement gap. You've got to reduce those numbers. But why? Because then I have one-on-one time with you, one-on-one time with you, right? So I deliver the instruction for 15, 20 minutes. You have an assignment to work. Now I could deal with each one. What's going on? You look like you're struggling. How can I help you? You know, I don't know how to do this, but if I don't have the time to do that, how can I close the achievement gap? Right? Because if I don't address the current standard now and close the achievement gap, then I'm still going to get behind. I got to do both at the same time. So you've got to reduce class sizes, and you just do it temporarily until the gap is closed. Then you could continue to grow it. Multi-tier support, system of supports. When you identify a student, when you do that fall NWEA score and you see that, hey, you know, compared to last year, this person actually went down 10 points, which means a whole year. So if they went down a whole year, that's the red flag right there. If I'm not stopping and digging deeper, the foundation is already shaky. So whatever I put on top of that foundation, it might not be understood or learned. Interventionists in ELA and math. I believe you have coaches currently in there, and I met some of them. And they would specialize in either 5-to-1 or 3-to-1, because they could pull out if 3 kids have the same standard gap. And NWEA will break it down for you. NWEA not only will it test all your students, it will tell you where the gap exists. So I could look and say, okay, Angel is struggling with this standard, and so is Trustee Lunkins, and so is Trustee Smith. So let me pull all 3 together and let me address the same standard, because it will cover 3 people, and 3 people will have that growth. Mental health services. Community resources. So I used to go to youth assistance, and over at the library there was a door, you know, that would go in the back, and they would help me out because I wasn't the best, you know, student. But so I had a lot of people that could mentor me and support me. It wasn't just teaching. It was the youth assistance officer. It was my coaches. It was other people. But you have that. Are we utilizing that? I put community coalition, but then I figured out that you have a tri-county coalition. I sit on the board of Madison Heights Community Coalition. So, you know, I would like to join the tri-county because that is huge, and they play a huge part in mental health services and supports. Mental health for students and staff. Suicide rates are up. Depression is up. What are we doing? Because you're addressing achievement gap, but you got to address the whole child. Your mission is one whole child at a time, right? The last part of it is one whole child at a time. Well, it can't be pick and choose, I'm going to address this. No, you've got to address it all. Suicide rates are up. What are we doing about it? Depression is up. What are we doing about it? Self-harm is up. What are we doing about it? You know? Social workers sometimes works, but sometimes the student will go to a trusted adult, their coach, their principal, their teacher, and say, hey, I'm struggling. I don't feel like getting up and coming to school. What are we doing to train that coach so he has some talking points, or she has some talking points? They don't have to be specialists to have some talking points and say, you know what, let me walk with you to the social worker, and let's talk to the social worker together. We talked about wellness response team, behavior interventionists. We talked about being visible in the school. Okay? It can't be just a walkthrough. It cannot. It can't be I'm going to walk around saying hi, hey guys, make an appearance. No. I told one of the groups, I said, I sub for people. I'll go in there, I hang out with the kids. Sometimes they just want to know that you care. How can they know that you care if the only time you're in their building is when you're doing a walkthrough? Or there's an issue and you have to deal with that issue and therefore you have to leave. I'm not an office guy, and I'll be honest, if you're looking for an office guy, I might not be your guy for you, because I want to be in there in the trenches with the kids. Labor shortage. increase incentives. You first have to elevate the teaching profession. You know, we have to elevate that. And before you incentivize someone to come in, what are you doing about the people that you already have here? And I don't know if this is factual or not, but one of the groups told me that 50% of your staff is outsourced. 50%. Now, I don't know, I did not fact find that or fact check that, that's what they were telling me. So, if part of your heart and your soul is out the window when you outsource. So, I'm not sure if you were aware of that 50%, I don't know if that, I'm gonna find out. But that's something that they shared with me. Okay, onboarding. When you bring someone in, there's a process. Right away, you assign them a partner, a mentor, someone that they can connect to. That way, when they feel like they're lost in something, they have someone to go to. And the most effective way to retain is checking in. What are we doing about checking in with our staff? Not when they're in trouble, just walking in and saying, hey, on your prep, let's talk. Let's have lunch, let's talk. How's it going? I sent out an email to our art teachers and I said, hey, I just want to tell you guys I appreciate it. I saw an article about art and one art teacher's like, you scared me at first, you know, because of the email that you sent. So not only did I send an email, I went to her classroom and I sat in there and I talked. The number one safest place for an individual to talk is in their own comfort. So for teachers, is in the classroom. So instead of me going in and calling them to my office, I just went in to sit with them and just talk. I also introduced Capturing Kids' Hearts in our district in Madison. So Capturing Kids' Hearts is a social-emotional learning program. It basically changes a mindset. If you don't win someone's heart, if you don't win a child's heart, can you really effectively teach them math, science, English, social studies? What's that saying? They don't care how much you know until what? Until they know how much you care. So we do daily affirmations, we do different themes. We're on year 2 of this program. It reduces suspension, but it's not our goal to reduce suspension. It's our goal is to connect with the student. If we connect with the students, their performance goes up. If you look at it in your profession, if you're boss and you have a relationship, your performance automatically goes up, and you know you could go to them when you're struggling over something. Ensure district calendar is maximized and quality of instruction is maximized. Make sure professional learning is occurring. So what I do in Madison, I use all our Title II. I don't touch our general fund. I use all our Title II dollars to offer professional development in the summer. So those are strictly voluntary, but we have a huge turnout for it. And so why do we do it? If I would have made it voluntary without pay, they would have showed up. But what I'm trying to do is show them that I'm thinking about you, that I get it. I know teachers are not paid well. So if there's ways for me to utilize Title II dollars to pay our employees so they could come in and get professional learning, we both win. You get engaged, you get trained, and performance goes up, and I get to compensate you for it. Meet with union leadership weekly. You have to. They are your. If you don't have your teachers, you won't have a lot of support. Anything that you could try to do is just like one step forward, 2 steps back. So you meet with them, you hear them, and it doesn't mean you always see eye to eye. No, there's times that we don't see eye to eye because I don't see things the way they see it, and so but I'm open and honest about it. Allowable uses of ESSER funding. So I just went to K-12 Alliance. We met with Senator Stabenow and the assistant to the education Secretary of Education, I just lost his name, Cardona. And he kind of hinted that they're going to extend the usage of ESSER funds, and they're going to give us some options on how you could extend ESSER funds. So here's some allowable uses. Anything that is impacted by COVID, you could use ESSER funds for. Anything that touches COVID or COVID response, ESSER funds could be used. All you have to do is make the connection. So is there anything right now that's not impacted by COVID? Everything in the district is impacted by COVID. So here in this presentation, I was trying to address staff morale, attendance, school culture. Your funding, the way you're setting up funding, has to mirror your strategic plan. So is your budget a reflection of your strategic plan? So if I see $3 million that you've allocated in your budget, and I'm just telling you what I see on the transparency page. You got 2.7 for furniture, another 300,000 or 200,000 for something else. How is that then supporting your strategic plan on climate and culture? Central office staff and district leaders must be aligned with the same vision and mission of the district. Everyone has to walk the walk and talk the talk. It can't be one-off here. Mr. Abdullah is saying this, but I'm going to do my own thing. We're going to do the same thing. And staff buying has to occur in order for a transformation to begin. If they're not on board, then what? I think that is it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get ready for questions and answers. Our first question, if you're ready. Go ahead and get you a swig of water.
All right, I'm ready.
How would your colleagues describe you as a leader?
I think I model, I practice what I preach. Whatever I say, that's what I do. There is nothing that I ask them to do that I myself don't do. You have to model that. So I model exactly what I want from our building principles.
Okay. Next question. How will you embrace the administrative team and staff who have experienced significant change and disruption over the last 2 years and give them hope for a sense of long-term stability, positive change, and strong leadership?
One more time.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. How will you embrace the administrative team and staff who have experienced significant change and disruption over the last 2 years and give them hope for a sense of long-term stability, positive change, and strong leadership?
So what I hope to do is bring them a sense of stability. I don't bounce around. So I've accomplished everything that I through the ladder, and I just feel like I told one of the groups this is, if I wanted to just sail off, and I would have just kept my contract, and I still got 4 years left on it. But what I would bring to it is a sense of stability. I'm not going anywhere. This is not a stepping stone for me. This is a destination. So coming home is a destination. It is not an aspiration. Oh, I'm not a superintendent. I would like to be one, and so I already am a superintendent. I already have a job. What I want to do is be part of something special. If I want to be part of something special, then I want to bring it back home and make that home something special. How would I embrace the staff? I would sit there, listen. You gotta listen to them and see what's going on. You know, did they experience trauma? Did they lose loved ones? Are they in fear of their job, or are they being targeted? Are they being, I mean, there's a lot of things. So if I don't make time to listen to them and hear them out, how can I embrace them? You got to get to know someone in order to embrace them.
Thank you.
Okay. What is your visual, let me say, what is your ideal vision for the effective special education program?
What's my ideal vision, for effective?
For effective special ed program.
So, all students are entitled to a fair and equitable education. Bottom line, they all are. Now, what you have to consider is the struggles that they might have, anxiety, or they might have cognitive impairment, or they might have, they might be deaf or hard of hearing. Those things we have to accommodate for. And there's, the state and or federal gives you money to make that gap up, but they're entitled to a free and equitable education just like every other student. So if a student is autistic, then we have to accommodate that student. That student can't make change. We have to change for that student. We can't ask a student who has a disability to say, well, you either get with the program or you got to go. How are they going to do that? They can't do that. So then what are we doing to accommodate that student? What are we doing to ensure that student is getting the same education as a regular education student?
I was waiting for more. Interesting. Good evening. The first question I have for you is share how your leadership reflects knowledge of culture, competency, and awareness of the need to address racial, LGBTQIA, and income inequality issues.
Okay, I'll be honest. I lost you there in the first,
It's okay.
so can we
Yeah,
just start
sure.
over? Yeah.
Share how your leadership affects knowledge of culture, competency, and awareness of the need to address racial, LGBTQIA, and income inequality issues.
All right, so anyone that knows me knows that, so my own wife and my children, we are from a multiracial family. My wife is from South Africa, her dad's Portuguese, I'm Chaldean. Our kids have it all, right? Her mom's black, her dad's Portuguese, and I'm Chaldean. And our kids are all over the place. If you look at them, you can see the gene pool is all over the place. But when someone says, oh, we don't look at color, we don't see this, what you're saying is I don't exist. You're supposed to see all colors, all races, all ethnicities, all genders. You see everything about everyone so you could treat them fair. So if you say, oh, Mr. Abdullah, I don't see color, well, you might not see me. So how can you address that? So you got to address it head on. I don't beat around the bush. I address it head on. If we're going to talk about equity, then does it matter if you're an LGBTQIA? I consider myself a friend to all. I had a friend when I was working at Wendy's who wanted to tell me something and said, Angel, I want to say something, but I don't want to lose you as a friend. I'm like, how are you going to lose me as a friend? She said, you don't know how many friends I lose. She was scared to tell me she was gay. She started crying. So, if you truly love someone, do we accept or do we just tolerate? I hate that word because that means you're just tolerating me. You're just okay with me existing in the same vicinity as you. That's not good enough for me. You don't just tolerate me or tolerate my children or tolerate someone else. You can't do that. You gotta address it all. Inequality exists. If we deny it, then we're fools to even think so. You saw what happened in Buffalo. I mean, is that far off? That just happened on Saturday. That just happened here in the United States. My wife would tell me stories about she could go to one drinking fountain because she was fair complected, but her friends could not. They had to go to different. She could ride one bus, and I said, come on. She's like, no, it's dead serious. Dead serious. So it exists. So how are we eliminating that inside our walls? Okay? And it's not just race. It's not just sexual orientation. It's everything. Ethnicity. My son was in school. He had a duffel bag and said, Dad, I wish our last name would not be Abdullah. I said, why? Because somebody said, what are you going to do with that duffel bag? Blow up the school? And he said, why they say that to me, Dad? I said, because they're ignorant. That's the reality. Are we not lying? You know, people are ignorant, and so they make ignorant remarks. So I have to educate my son and say, well, this is what's going on. This is the world that we live in. And how do we break those barriers? One person at a time. If I could affect one person, if I could change one person's mind every day, then I'm making a change.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll give you the fifth question.
Okay. We're only
And
number.
I'm glad that you're,
We're on number 5 only. Wow.
so you have the time. Describe your experience with implementing budget reductions. What was your approach and how was it successful?
So, what I had to do with that, with the 1.5 reduction that existed, and again, that was 10%. So 1.5, but when you look at the grand scheme, it's 10% reduction. I looked at, and I saw a lot of padded contracts, individual contracts. They were padded. Whether you want to call it friends and family or whatever you want to call it, I saw a lot of that. But I never go in it with this is how it goes, because anyone that tells you that it's easy to let someone go is lying. It's very hard. I mean, I broke down with one of them. I broke down and my HR director said, can I talk to you? So I go outside and said, you got to keep it together. I said, how can I keep it together? I know my decision is impacting their livelihood. How do you just treat that as a number? But you have to do it. You live and die by budgets. So my approach is don't set yourself up where you have to do that. So the raises that we gave out and secured all contracts without privatizing, right? So I secured all raises for all CBAs, did not privatize, did not outsource. I've not outsourced a single thing. And I did it from a sustainable approach. I looked at the general fund. How can I make it sustainable on that alone? I can't use the one-time ESSERs and say, oh, I'm going to give out raises, because that's not always going to be there. That's like getting your stimulus check and saying, all right, I'm going to give everyone, but that's not going to be every month. That's not going to be every year. You have to look at what you're bringing in. What you're bringing in is about 68 million, 62 to 68 million. All right, so you look at what's sustainable from that, and all your decisions are on that. Then you utilize the other things that are there to offset. Because you know if you don't use some title money, then that goes away. Your general fund money does not go away. So which one am I gonna use first? All the other stuff I'm gonna use first. But you have to have a sound understanding of not only budgets, of the grants, of the awards that you could apply for, and how you implement them. So I use all our Title II dollars, every single one, for professional development. It doesn't touch my general fund at all. So it allows me to grow general fund. So I have experience. I talked to Dan, I think your CFO, I said, hey, how come you haven't done a budget amendment yet? I mean, should have been done. I wasn't trying to, I just say what I'm thinking, right? So I said, hey, you should have done a budget amendment. You guys not done a budget amendment. June, you have to produce at the end of the year. So then I pulled up your state aid. Your state aid note is 3,400, and I'm like, wait a minute, because your projections were on 3,600 students. So I'm like, well, all right. So I said, Dan, we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna and in his defense, he said, we just got here in January, so they're on their third CFO. Said, we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to see what's going on, because all your fund projections, one of them showed you had 36 to 4,200 students. So I'm like, where are you gonna get the other 600 students from? Because one of your proposed things said 4,200 students, so where are you gonna get the other 6? Because if there's a magic trick to getting students, I would like to know. But it's more realistic, and Dan did tell me that 3,600 is what he's projecting. And I told him, I said, it's always better to anticipate a reduction and then come over than try to fool the board into thinking, oh yeah, all right, here's how much revenue we're gonna have, and we're gonna do this, and then you're coming under. And what I told them is, even though you're a separate arm, if something goes wrong, who's the board gonna go to? They're gonna go to me. I said, Mr. Abdullah, what's going on? They're not gonna go to Dan, or they're not gonna go to Carol, they're gonna go to me and say, what's going on? So I have plenty of experience. You're not gonna get someone who has to do, I mean, the first thing that I would do, you wouldn't have a lot of time, but I would, try to get on as soon as possible, because you don't have a lot of time to review your budget, to have a special meeting so you could, close out your budget and then produce your new budget. You have to do that all within, you got 40 days, and you have to decide on the superintendent first, and then you have to get all those things, so you don't have a lot of time.
That'll work it out for us.
But it's doable. It's doable.
Mr. Abdullah, working with people from different backgrounds and cultures can present opportunities as well as challenges. To the extent that you have done so already, please share your perspective on both.
So, in Spain, my best friend was from Iran. And we left Iraq during the Iraq-Iran war. And people said, how can you guys be friends? Your countries are at war. I'm like, what does that have to do with my friend and I? Wherever I go, I build relationships. That's just who I am. I went to Pontiac, I built relationships. Kids know I love them, and I know they love me. And if you love the kids, and the kids love you, you love the staff, and the staff love you, doesn't matter what color my skin is, doesn't matter what religion I am, doesn't matter what ethnicity I am, doesn't. Last time I checked, the heart's the same color. It doesn't matter if it's me, Trustee Smith, we got the same color heart, don't we? Unless there's purple hearts out there that we don't know, and green hearts, we all have the same heart.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry.
So, what specific strategies have you employed to show gratitude and appreciation, helping your people feel valued and connected? How have they worked, and what have you learned?
One more time. I got it, but I just want to make sure.
What specific strategies have you employed to show gratitude and appreciation, helping your people feel valued and connected? How
Okay.
have they worked, and what have you learned?
So, during the height of the pandemic, it was Secretary's Day, but secretaries were at home. So what do? I go to each one of their homes and deliver a bouquet of flowers. It was a small act. I personally went, and I was a superintendent, I was not a principal, I went to every secretary's house and hand-delivered flowers and a bouquet. Why? It was a small action. It wasn't, the financial piece wasn't a big thing. It was just, I appreciate you, and this is my way of showing you I appreciate you. Another one that we did was, I presented the board a retention bonus to every employee except for myself. I did it on purpose that way. My job is to recognize and advocate for every employee that works for me. That is it. I don't include myself in that. That is not my job to advocate for myself. So, did the bonus, and I did it the same for everyone. Because why should there be a difference? Because you're a teacher and you're a custodian or you're a bus driver. There should be no difference. Are they our employees or are they not? Yes, they are employees. Then they should all be celebrated equally. I partner with my PTO. So for Teacher Appreciation Week, every day the PTO did something for our staff in every building. Sandwiches, they did taco bar, they did gift cards, they do all kinds of stuff. And those are small acts to show gratitude. And it's not the financial compensation piece, it's really that you take the time to recognize someone. So our parapros, we recognize them. Our parapro of the year, paraprofessional of the year, we recognized her, had her come out to a board meeting and gave her recognition. She didn't even know. She didn't know why she was there. Teacher of the year, we asked them to come in, recognize them, and then we shouted it from the rooftop. You can't really shout it from the rooftop, so how do you do it? On social media, on Facebook. So we just advocate and we promote. Here's what we're doing. Come check us out. Because people tend, when shopping for schools, they look at what? Social media. Word of mouth is the first one. Where's your kid go to school? So we got to make that shift change. And the next thing is social media.
Please describe your experience with driving student academic growth. How did you determine goals? How did you get your staff on board?
One more time.
Please describe your experience with driving student academic growth. How did you determine the goals? And how did you get your staff on board?
So our academic growth is every child is entitled to 1 year's worth of growth for 1 year's worth of instruction, period. Doesn't matter COVID, not COVID, virtual, not virtual. They're entitled for 1 year's worth of growth for 1 year's worth of instruction. So what happens when that does not happen? So we have to analyze. Every district has the data people. Whether you identify them or not, every district has people that love digging into data. So you partner with them and say, what does the data show? I just shared with you some key factors of student achievement and the gap that exists. So now that we know, you know what the problem is, so now you create a solution. What is the solution? I presented you with some options. You reduce class sizes, you cohort kids have the same needs, so you could target them. You offer tutorial services free after school, and you do it 3-to-1, 5-to-1, and you invite. I saw that you already did a summer school presentation. We did one as well, but you could do an extended one. And then what you do is you do summer school you could do two different ways to do summer school: by invite only, which is this one group where you're targeting their learning growth, and then another one for enrichment, right? Camps, enrichment, field trips, activities, and you do them both. Advancement. So because we don't have language in the middle school, so I told the team, hey, why don't we offer 4 hours a day, foreign language. If 8th graders do it all, then they could get a high school credit. They could take the 9th grade test, they could meet the 9th grade standards, they take the test, and they could get high school credit. That eliminates 1 year of a language That opens up other avenues. That means I'm more inclined to take OTEC, or to do an apprenticeship, or to do something in my junior and senior year, instead of trying to get all my credits in place so I could make sure I meet the high school graduation requirements.
Competition to traditional public schools in the form of schools of choice, charter schools, private schools, and virtual programs has increased dramatically. How do you envision improving our brand so that more families within our district boundaries choose Oak Park schools?
One more time, please.
Okay. Competition to traditional public schools in the form of schools of choice, charter schools, private schools, and virtual programs has increased dramatically. How do you envision improving our brand so that more families within our district boundaries choose Oak Park schools?
So your census data tells you how many people reside in your district and how many go elsewhere. So that's one piece. So if you know who you could target, I mean, if there's 100 families, how long does it take me, one person, to go to 100 homes and talk? 3 weeks, 4 weeks? And out of those 100 homes, if it's just me, how many can I convince to give us a shot again? That's one leg. Another leg is how many of our students were our students but then have left, and why have they left? People don't just leave if they feel connected. They leave if they don't feel connected. If they feel like whatever's happening in school, there's no place in there for them. So families leave. Could they have been offended? Could the parent been offended? Could the student, were they mistreated and did not get fair and equitable justice on a punishment or anything like that? And you empower your. So I'm in the alumni group, but I have to be careful what I say because I also represent Madison. But I hear that they want to help. All I hear is that they want to be involved. So, you bring your community in here so you can improve your brand. Right? If your community is involved and your stakeholders are involved, that improves your brand. And as your brand improves, then you celebrate those improvements, and you have a big social media footprint, which I don't know how big your footprint is on social media, but that is effective. Carol said billboards and some other things that you're doing, but you don't know the data. Like, I could get Facebook data, I could see how many parent engagements that I have. My biggest parent group is age 35 to 45. I could pull up on my phone my Facebook. I could see how many people visit my page every day, and then I could send them invites. And then I know who's a parent of a student there and who's just checking this out. If they're checking this out, I'll send them a friend request. And say, hey, I saw you visit our page. Is there anything I can answer for you?
Just want to note that we need to pick up the pace
Oh.
of questions and answers. So
Okay.
we're going to question number 10, I believe.
Okay.
I don't know if you were done. That's one.
No, it's okay.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Question 10. What is the biggest crisis you have handled? What did you do to help resolve it? And what did it mean to you? What's the meaning from it?
The biggest crisis? The biggest, yeah.
You want to read it again?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. What is the biggest crisis you have handled? What did it do to help resolve it? And what did you learn from it?
So the biggest crisis that I was asked to step in when the superintendent separated from the district and the CFO separated from the district. That was a big crisis. And then at the same time that's happening, you have a deficit. You have a deficit to address. And then there are some programs that weren't really run properly. all at the same time. But again, when I say I'm not scared to, deal with something head on, I deal with it. So, I made my recommendations to the board. I said, I don't believe this program is run properly. I have some concerns with it. I made my recommendation. They supported it. So all of that combined, it was a huge crisis, but we've overcome it. This is where we are now. Our fund balance is very, very healthy, and everyone sleeps well at night.
Thank you. I'm trying to read this very
Yeah.
fast,
All
okay?
right.
What data should we be collecting on possible learning loss during COVID? If we see deficits, how would we start to remedy them?
Okay. So what data? Learning loss is one, right? But did that child have a loss in the family because of COVID? Did that child have personal trauma in their life? Did they become during COVID homeless? Right? So you got to look at all these factors when you're looking and addressing learning loss. Learning loss is just not because they didn't attend school. Could have been, how many of our kids have lost a loved one? How many of us have lost a loved one because of COVID? And everyone has been impacted in one way or another with suicide. Why do you think suicide rates? Self-harm, all those things. So if you're not analyzing that, if you're not using that as a factor to see why the learning, you can't just assume learning loss is because they weren't in person. You can't just assume that. Because what happened during the 2 years that they were at home virtually? Did mom and dad lose their job? Did they struggle to put food on the table? Did they have to move in with grandma and grandpa because they lost their home? All kinds of things play a factor in learning loss. And I think you had another part to...
Oh, yes, the deficit. If we see, if we see deficits, how would we start to remedy them?
So it takes 3 years to address, but the addressing starts now, right? So the cohorting, I kind of addressed that earlier, but the grouping based on standards, the extended summer school, the separation of the summer school for enrichment with the invite only, so you could target specific standards with invite only. If someone's on the verge of not passing, you could invite them to summer school and address those learning gaps at a more personal level when it's like 5 or 6 kids where you could address that instead of a whole blown out program.
Thank you.
Huh?
How would you advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly with those who may not understand or value its relevance and importance?
I kind of address that. So you address it head on. You don't beat around the bush. You educate, you inform, and you correct when you have to correct. That's the only way you educate people. But it's not just race. It's not just, it could be social, economic status, right? So someone could be well off, someone could not, and then they use that to create inequality. So you have to address all of it, and it stops at the door. The minute they come in, all students are all students. All students are our students. That's it. You look at every child the same way, and one thing that I do say is fair is not equal. So as long as I'm fair with you, you cannot compare how I am with him, because he might have different needs. And my job is to accommodate him and his needs at the same time addressing yours. So you can't say, well, you did this for Trustee Smith. Yeah, but that's me and Trustee Smith. Those are the needs that he had. So I'm addressing his needs, and they might be different than his needs. But you got to address them. So you treat everyone fairly, but fair is not equal.
Thank you.
Mr. Abdulahad, what strategies would you utilize to recruit and retain top talent for our teaching, administrative, and support staff?
What talent strategies?
What strategies would you utilize to recruit and retain top talent for our teaching, administrative, and support staff?
So I would start off with the retention piece to make sure that I don't lose any more teachers. And so what we do, like right now, I had a teacher who initially submitted resignation. So I didn't just accept that. I went to that teacher and said, hey, talk to me. Well, Mr. Abdullah, I don't like how I was treated, or here's what happened. I said, no problem, I appreciate it. They decided to stay. I had multiple teachers that after talking to me decided to stay. It wasn't about money. They wanted to be heard. They wanted to be heard. They wanted to feel like someone cared about them. So that's the retaining piece. Then the recruiting piece. Great teachers follow leaders, right? If you know you have a great leader, you're going to follow that leader. And I've built 22 years of networking with my colleagues. So I'm not saying they would just follow me, but I would say that people realize if you have talent, they follow talent. Or if they believe in your vision, they follow vision. I don't like the incentive that you have, the incentive you have on your website. Personally, I don't, but I get it because it's an incentive to recruit. But is it working? That's my question. How long has your incentive been in place, and is it working? Because you still have the 14 vacancies. So if the incentive is not working, what are we doing differently? We have to change and shift. Can't just say, well, we're incentivizing. Well, so is everyone else. So what makes Oak Park special? Why, if I'm a teacher, should I come to Oak Park? Give me a reason to come here. And give me a reason not to leave here. Because if you're losing 49 teachers, there's a reason why they're leaving. They're not just leaving because they're retiring. I think 2 retired, right? So what happened to the others?
Thank you. Please describe your experience with ensuring that top academic performers receive challenging instruction.
So a lot of times we used to think, oh, if they're an accelerated class, we just give them more work. That's not challenging. You're just giving someone busy work. That's not challenging. Challenging is elevating the questioning process, asking more open-ended, asking people to elaborate, not asking A, B, C, true or false questions, which anybody could, guess. How am I really challenging you? I ask a question, a thought-provoking question that will engage you to answer and meet that standard, but also I could see how you could, what you're doing through your thinking process. And then CASA is available. You have almost 30 AP classes that CASA offers. Not only does it offer that, it also offers the opportunity to engage with other students from other districts, strengthening the relationship between their peers. And a lot of times I made friends with people that went to Berkeley or went to Ferndale through CASA.
Okay. Have you challenged an inequitable school policy or practice? If so, please describe what happened.
You're trying to get me in trouble with this one.
Right.
You're trying to get me in trouble with this one. I gotta. I don't believe in friends and family gets you a job. I'll just say, can I say that? Nepotism to me should have no place in public education, right? If you're gonna hire the best candidate, hire the best candidate. Don't hire me just because I'm, your cousin, so I had to challenge that. I had to, and I do challenge that. I mean, I do, and I don't believe in it. And so I just believe putting people, the best people, in the best situation where they're qualified.
Thank you.
Tell us about this time your staff and community was divided on an issue, and how did you work to overcome the division? Really good. Tell us how. Tell us about a time the staff and the community was divided on an issue, and how you worked to overcome the division.
So with COVID, the second time we went back, the staff did not want to go back. And they said, oh, protect us. And I believed I was. And I said, look, I got filters in every classroom, purifiers in every classroom. I got masks. I did the plexiglass in every desk. But it's time for our kids to go back to school. It's time for our kids to because there was a divide between what the parents wanted. The parents wanted to go back to school. They wanted, and the staff did not want to go back. They wanted to remain. And so I listened to both. I felt comfortable with all the safeguards that we had in place, every single one. Met with the union, and I heard all the concerns, and I said, here's what I'm doing. Plexiglass, 6 feet divided, or at that time it was 3.5 feet, 4 feet we did. We made sure every teacher had plexiglass, and so I believe and I stand behind that I did what's best for the kids, and really it's my job to advocate for both. But I am also the voice of the kids, towards the staff, right? So I'm going to advocate for that, and then I hear the parents too. So my job is to take all of that into consideration, and then at the end I have to make the decision. Right? So it's easy if you don't have to make the decision. People say, oh, here's what I would do. But when it's time to make the decision, and my board put it on me. Said, oh, well, would you? They put it on me. So I'm like, all right, well, here's what we're going to do. I don't mind owning it. I don't mind owning a decision at all.
Thanks.
Got 5 minutes to go.
He's not correct.
Okay. Describe how you work with the board to build consensus. Excuse me.
We have
We have 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah, it's a 90-minute interview this time around, not 80 minutes. So it's 15 minutes.
Correct. 15 minutes, okay.
Yeah, I saw you hold up
You
the
got
20.
You got
Ooh,
plenty of
I
time.
can take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath. Take your time.
Okay.
Don't speed read.
You catch one.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's reread this. Describe how you work with the board to build consensus and carry out the goals set forth in the strategic plan.
One more time, please.
Describe how you work with the board to build consensus and carry out the goals set forth in the strategic plan.
All right, so the strategic plan is our destination. So if we look at it, working together is like, I would say, like a GPS, right? We put it in, here's our destination, here's where we want to go. Now, 7 board members and myself, we would have different routes, right? You could take this route, you could take this route. So how do we build consensus? One, build a team where everyone's voice, everyone's heard, right? We're a team. And in order for us to be a team, that everybody needs to speak their mind. And then we decide as a group, as a team, which best route do we take? There is no one route better than the other. So we just decide, and this is where 7 voices have to be combined into one. Because I can't get 7 directions, right? I can't get one direction from you, another direction from you. Mr. Abdullah, you should turn left here. And then Trustee Smith is like, nope, you should make a right up here and then go this way. And then Trustee Lunkins will say, no, keep going straight. We're going to take the other shortcut. And I'm going to say, well, I just got direction from 7 different people. So our job to build together is to brainstorm and collaborate and work together. If you have ideas as a group, send out email, or I send you guys emails, here's my thoughts. Every Sunday I send out my weekly update, and then I tell the board members, please just respond back to me, give me your thoughts on this issue, or give me your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking about this issue. It's just back to me. So if I have an idea, I say, here's what I'm thinking, here's the direction that I'm thinking, what are your thoughts? So if they respond back to me and say, well, Mr. Abdullah, here's what I think. I'm okay with this date, or I'm okay doing this, or no, I think you should bring this to the table for open discussion. So I get all of that, and then then if we have to have a meeting to discuss dialogue and plan things out, then that's what we do it here.
Thank you.
We're at number 18.
All right.
Tell us about a time when you changed a process or procedure to make your department or organization more inclusive.
So I saw a disconnect in central office without me. When I was there, everyone would eat lunch together, and when I wasn't there, everyone was doing their own thing. So I said, all right, we got standing order now, because you guys feel comfortable with me eating with all you guys, but I can't always come in and eat with you guys, and I can't always pay either, right? Because sometimes they say, oh, well, you pay, so I don't mind doing that. But what we establish is we're going to have once a week, once a month, meetings as a whole group, almost like a working lunch, but it's more of building collaboration, right? Just talking and just networking, because a lot of times everyone's operating with their own office, right? I'm doing this office, and they never come together unless it's like a cabinet meeting or something else where it's all business. When do they ever come together as a group just to talk, just to eat, and then seeing one another and discussing things? So it's really not good practice to eat in your office. It's really, this research does not support it, and it's not good practice. So we eat together in the conference room, and we make sure we do that, and I make sure that I don't always pay, right? Well, I make sure I don't always pay, but I always say, can we have your credit card? No, you can't.
We'd like to take a few minutes now to provide you with an opportunity to ask any questions you might have for the board, if you have any.
So, one of them I brought up is, is there a reason why we haven't done a budget amendment? Because that's pretty concerning to me. So that's. I'm just being honest, and you don't have to answer it, but just food for thought. You tend to do a budget amendment in the middle to see, it's almost like a checkpoint. Where are we? Did we deviate all the way over here? And we don't even know it till June, because come June it's too late, right? If you wait till June to say, uh-oh, what happened here? You saw what happened in Birmingham. $11 million just out the window. So, do you really want to wait till June to say, I wish I would have known about this sooner? So that's one question I have, and just food for thought. When I pulled up your state, it showed you had 3,482 students, and I'm not sure what you budgeted for when you produced your budget. Do you guys know what number you?
So we had, if you will, I'll take a first stab at a numbers issue. First of all, with respect to the people who produce those documents, there has been change in our CFO position that is not, it doesn't fall on Dan Phillips, basically.
Yeah.
Dan came in after our prior CFO
Right.
was only here for a matter of weeks.
Right.
And before that, we had another vacancy for a period. And in the meantime, also Doreen, whose position.
Director of Finance.
Our Director of Finance was, we didn't know this, but
Yeah.
she didn't just pass away suddenly. She, it turned out, had actually had a long-term illness that was causing some difficulties, and the department had some difficulties. And so Dan has been working diligently to pick up a lot of pieces. I can't speak exactly to why we don't have a renewed budget. With respect to the students issue, we had a big disparity at the beginning because we were partially in person, partially on Zoom, and so it was very difficult At some point, we were less than 3,000 students, I think, at the beginning of the year. And we had this choice, we had to pick our poison. You know, do we want to pick way low? And then we had the teachers' unions on the other side, you know, making a big push for step raises and so on. If we shot low, then we would have a problem with the unions, especially if we wound up having a lot more.
Yeah.
If we shot high, obviously our budget would be in shambles.
Yeah.
Based on over projections. And so what we wound up doing was kind of taking trying to straddle that fence.
Okay.
And in the budget, the last few years, we've been presented with 3 different scenarios. So a low number, a mid number,
Yeah.
a high number. And so that had to do both with assumptions in terms of student enrollment and also in terms of state funding.
Yeah.
And so that was how our budget was developed the last couple of years.
Any other?
Yeah, I just wanted to, you know, it would fail not to mention that in the beginning, our forecast was miscalculated in regards to student enrollment. So it starts from that beginning and then
Yeah.
it just trickled on down.
Yeah.
And that was when we had Mr. Steve Barr.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, since we're in a public meeting, I need to take issue with making statements that are not factually accurate. So,
Oh.
let's,
So you're saying that wasn't facts?
no,
I didn't say
nothing
that.
was
Oh, my bad.
misrepresented
He
in the
was-
numbers that were developed in our financial data.
Oh, I thought that was one meeting we had, I'm sorry.
I won't ask Brian questions about it, Bob.
My bad.
So
Sorry.
my question to you would be, what's your plan? Because you don't have a lot of time. You need to, you really need to kind of make 2 decisions at the same time. And I will say that I personally believe, honestly, that I am the right fit for you. I just feel in my heart that I belong in Oak Park, and I just want to say that. And it's humbling at the same time. It's rewarding, seeing the potential that you have and the opportunities that you have. And I just encourage you to, when you do the site visit, everything that I'm saying you'll see for yourself. But I feel good about our relationship. I feel good about the direction that you're going, and I'd like to be part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Abdullah, we sincerely appreciate your time and continued interest in being the next superintendent of Oak Park Schools. We will keep you informed and expect to be prepared to make our final determination on Tuesday, May 31st. Thank you for being here with us today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
You got your card?
Yes.
All right, we've come to we usually call it public comment, but this is audience participation. In any case, we've come to the part where members of the audience have the opportunity to address the board with the understanding that the board cannot respond directly to any comments made to the full board. Mr. Smith, would you please read the audience participation guidelines?
Yes. Because the Oak Park Board of Education values public meetings, not just meetings in public, we welcome public comments on school issues. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due process for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by public comments. The public comment portion of the meeting cannot be used to make personal attacks against a school board member or school district employee that disrupts the order of the meeting and are totally unrelated to the manner in which the member or employee performs his or her duties. Speakers should be aware that if statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, such comments may result in legal liability. Most comments can be concisely stated in 3 minutes, and the board respectfully asks that comments remain focused on the topic or issue and not be directed at public personnel or board members.
Who's first?
We have Tanika Liddell at 23510 Church.
Welcome, Ms. Liddell. Hope I said it right. Welcome.
Good evening. Hopefully I won't take more than 3 minutes. My name is Tanika Liddell. As a homeowner, taxpayer in the community, and as a good steward of my money, Like anyone who decides to move to any community, three main factors came in mind: taxes, schools, and city services. Those three are the three main major factors for me, for most people moving to the city. I consider all three, and I grew up in Southfield, and I've been a Oakland community resident for going on 47 years. So basically, I grew up in not Oak Park, but Southfield High, Southfield Public Schools, and I've been part of the Oakland community for 47 years. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous here. So, as a child, I was excited when I got the opportunity to play like Oak Park, because collaboration with Oak Park, I had opportunity to see kids that looked like me. I came across my first high school crush was a Oak Park resident. Hi, Miss B, if you around listening here, my first little boyfriend I liked was with the Oak Park. I say all this to understand that, most children and school leaders are, most children or child look up to people in their school and their leadership. I remember over 42 years, the first African American administrator in Oakland School District was Dr. Bobby Hentrell, and she was the first principal, first administrator in this area. I say all this while I'm giving so much private information is because I believe when you go to school that you reflect what you look like, and you want to see people in your support system that look like the kids that you grew up around and things like that. Like I said, I was so nervous. I wrote all this down. I'm not reading any of it.
It's okay, take your time. It's all right.
And as you know, I've been here like every day except for Tuesday because I'm very passionate about this.
Don't be nervous, it's okay, take your time.
I'm telling you so much about my background and everything because, like I said, I was a child that went through a lot of adversity, and the school system and the school district I grew up in was very imperative in helping me with my career. As you can see, I'm a nurse, and the school district I went to at Southfield High was very imperative in helping me with that. And I see a lot of these children in our district the same way, and I want the children, I'm very passionate, I'm very committed to the community. I just feel that I will hopefully will bring somebody who has the same ideas, who will bring new ideas, new beginnings to the school district. Not only will they should be personable, but I think they should come with our experiences as well as bringing their experiences and implementing their experiences and implementing their ideas to the school district. I feel after looking at everyone and just listening to everyone, I feel Dr. Postel will be the candidate who will bring that passion to the students, the district, the community, who I am part of the community, and just bring things back, all the stakeholders. It was very evident with the alums speaking so highly of her that she still has these connections to the community. As a STEM girl, which I am because I am a nurse, I love science, I will hope you will bring somebody who will bring these partnerships with different schools, Wayne State, Oakland Community College, all these different opportunities for students to engage in. I don't want just the students just to graduate because, like I said, the students reflect us, and it reflects my community. And you have a good school district and good services, then that's what brings people to the community. And this is the reason I bought. As a nurse, we assess, we diagnose, we plan, we implement, and we evaluate. I don't want the students, just like I said, to just come and be able to graduate. I want somebody who's going to assess. I want somebody who's going to diagnose. I want somebody who's going to plan. I want somebody who's going to implement, and I want somebody who's going to evaluate. I think Dr. Postel is that person who's going to not only assess what's going on, she's going to diagnose the issue, she's going to plan, and not just plan and leave it right there at plan, but she's going to implement it, and she's going to evaluate what's going on. I don't want just the ideas. I want to know what you're going to do. I want to know how you're going to do it, and I want the person to bring stakeholders in the community, because like I said, I'm ready to help the students. I'm ready to be a mentor. I want more students to go into nursing. We need some nurses. We need some more healthcare professionals, and I hope that, you will consider her because of all the people I did hear and all the information I did hear. I think she's that one who's going to not only do all that, but she's going to also implement her ideas that she's bringing to the table. So I'm sorry, like I said, if I took more than 3 minutes, I'm a little nervous, and I'm tired. I work 12-hour shifts, and as nurses, and I'm an educator too. My mom's an educator. I'm a nurse educator, so I know about education. I really am pushing, that you guys bring someone who is that passionate about, bringing this all together. Because I'm here. Wherever you need me, I'm ready to bring these students, and I want them to be nurses and into the STEM. So I got those connections as well. So that's my little 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who else we
All
got?
right, we have Curtis Daniels of 23487 Parkland Street.
Mr. Daniels.
Good evening, y'all.
Good evening.
I got a few things I would like to say. The doctor, what's her name, Dr. Pastel, who I heard a couple days ago, she really brought a lot of substance. You want someone with some substance, strong and a long background in education and serving children in the community. Tonight, what I heard was nothing compared to what I heard what that sister was bringing. Tonight I heard a lot of limitations, and I'm gonna point out a few that I heard. And one of them came when we talked about the apprenticeship. He said might or not introduce. This is something you want to do. You want to implement all the programs and resources you can to help any child. He put a might on there. Also, he put a limitation when he talked about invites only. When he talked about students picking 6 and picking this, that's a limitation there. I heard more limitations with him tonight. Only 1 year thing he brought up. Bringing something, we're gonna work with the student this year. Then cutting. To me, this guy here wasn't really cutting the rug with me. He was doing a lot of more. He didn't even recognize the public. He was not really. I didn't hear nothing too much about the students. No accomplishments, nor things was asked to him. He didn't bring nothing to me. I didn't hear nothing on no successes. No really success about foreign languages. Okay, I did a little homework on him. On his educational background, he didn't have nothing but foreign languages degree. I didn't see no background in education, helping students and anything. To me, like I said, the most candidates that I heard a lot from other ones prior to, but the sister that came in and gave y'all a whole lot of power and her conviction of what she believed in and what she believed that Oak Park would be, our school district would be. They implement, a lot of people talked about, all the candidates talked about apprenticeship programs and reaching out. I didn't hear none of that tonight with this guy. You know what I'm saying? He was too much authority to talk to me. I felt a lot of jabbing and research and trying to dig up something on our district, opposed to trying to win us over and say, hey, I'm the best candidate to make sure the whole school system here in Oak Park would be successful. I didn't hear none of that. I don't think I heard this. Something he was just researching, probably were not facts. But again, it's a couple of things. There's a few more things I've seen that he didn't like our website. Okay, so he was most likely picking, studying, trying to win over something. So I didn't like him, just flat out. And I don't think he's a better choice than even the previous candidates. He's not a better choice for our school district. Not at all. I think that's all I want to say about
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
We got another one.
Okay, we have Crystal Bailey at 8646 Kimberton Drive.
Ms. Bailey, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ooh. Didn't like that. All right, I'm Crystal Bailey, 8646 Kimberton Drive, and I am a homeowner of Oak Park, former vice president of Oak Park School Board. I am also a community member, and I wrote some things down here that I want to stick to. I came before the board for CTE, and I would keep coming to these meetings, and I keep forgetting about, why I initially came, because we got too swamped up with the superintendent search, which is far more important right now than, maybe having after-school programs for sewing. However, I think that's just something we still should have. Although the superintendent search is happening, we still need to focus on CTE and after-school sewing programs. And I missed the opportunity to bring it before the board before because the board has taken public comment down from 2 public comments to 1 now. So I missed the opportunity to bring that before the board. And I think when I was on the board, there was 2 public comments, and I think it's necessary because as I sit out here in the audience and as a public community member, I see the importance of having 2 because you have to work up the nerve, as you saw from people who speak, and you have to work up the nerve to even get in front of this board and on live somewhere to even come and speak. So the first one you might miss, maybe you're late. Maybe you're late, maybe you got to work up the nerve, but I think to not shut the community out and continue having 2 public comments. And I went to a Park and Recs meeting today. It was pretty cool. We're getting a dog park. I just recently got a dog named Baco. I have a 15-year-old daughter, and she is 15. So I said, hey, this girl needs some emotional support. Let me give her a dog or something, And yeah, and it's my dog. So Baco, I'm really excited that Baco will get a dog park here in Oak Park. Thank you for my time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Anything else?
I have something.
Wait, I mean, no more public comment.
No,
Okay.
this is personal comment, but I don't wanna,
I was making sure we didn't have any more public comment. So now, if the board has any communications, go ahead, you're on.
my communication is, first of all, I wanna thank everybody who came out to listen to our speakers. Whether they chose this one, chose that one, they were here. I wanna thank them. But I also want to respect at what the president and the vice president has been saying. Go online, answer some of those questions, give your comments. Let us know how you feel, because believe it or not, you'll be the first ones to say, I didn't want that one, I didn't want this one, I didn't want that. Give us a chance for them to look at them to see what you're putting in here before we make the final decision on who is going to be the next superintendent of Oak Park Schools. It may not be what you like if you don't vote or you don't give a comment, but I'm asking you, please, go online, give a comment, let us know how you feel about it. And also, I am running for school board.
Thank you, Trustee Smith.
Yeah, so I just want to continue to inform the public that, on a daily basis, in order to rectify some of the issues that we have going on in the district, being a part of the solution and not the problem. We still have the eye care volunteers going on here. Currently, I am the only volunteer at this time, but I'm gonna keep on keeping on because of the fact that I do care. So any parents, any alumni, community members that want to participate and assist in trying to keep this district a better district here, I really appreciate it. We appreciate it. So it's iCare. It's on the Oak Park School District's website, and I really look forward to any further participation. That's it.
Anyone else? I have one quick thing. I just want to note a reminder about the Juneteenth essay contest that has a deadline of May 24th. High school students who are entering this contest have the opportunity to win $1,000. Middle school students have the opportunity to win $500. Elementary school students have the ability to win a Chromebook. And so this is open to all students who live in Oak Park or attend Oak Park schools. Submissions can be sent, submissions and or questions can be sent to cflynn@oakparkmi.gov. I think the essay point is it's important to encourage diversity and inclusion around the world and within our communities because high school students, their essay must be at least 500 words. Middle school students, their essay must be at least 250 words. So This is in conjunction with the Juneteenth celebration. The winner, I believe, will be announced at that celebration, and looking forward to seeing what happens then. So, thank you for that. Mr. Silvera, you have a couple things.
All right, so the last step left in the process is site visits for next week. And we thought we were set Monday, we had selected Thursday and Friday. Come to find out that there are conflicts with both of the candidates that make Friday impossible. So Thursday will work, but we would need to find another day. And I know I had some dialogue with the three members who were volunteering to take part, and we may still have a conflict. I'll just go back and say this. Ideally, you're going to have the same three people go to both site visits and then report out to the rest of the board. That's ideally. It doesn't absolutely have to be that way. We hope that it is, but if it can't be that, it's still beneficial to have at least a couple of members go, or it could be a mix, if that's just what we need to do to make it work. So failure's not an option, right?
So just to review where we are, Mr. Abdullah had said, so Trustee Smith can do either one. We were looking at Wednesday, right? And then Trustee Corcoran said that she could do 10 o'clock on Wednesday, but I cannot do 10 o'clock on Wednesday. I can do 2 o'clock on Wednesday. Mr. Abdullah had said he could do either one.
He could do either one.
So that's where we are.
Can the rest of the board do the two other members do 2 o'clock on Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm flexible all around, so.
Trustee
just-
Corcoran, can you do 2 o'clock on, you cannot? It's looking more like.
Does it have to be 2 board members?
3.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
At the 2 o'clock, you said the walkthrough is about how long?
A total of about 4 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would like to dedicate that, but I will not be able to stay the duration of the 4 hours.
How long could you stay?
Like an hour, if it starts at 2. If it starts at 1, then I can go from 1 to at least 3.
Yes, that's a little, that's not enough. So either we have 2 go in the morning and not 1, or we have 2 go in the afternoon and not 1. That's what we have, that's where we're at this point.
So up to you folks. I mean, and we can do that. If that's the best we can do, then, you know, again, failure's not an option, so we make that work.
It would probably be the best we can do, so.
So repeat that again? 2 in the morning?
So on one day, which is not an issue, 3 of you will go.
That's what, Thursday.
Thursday.
So the Wednesday is the issue. So either we have 2 of you go at 10, or 2 of you go at 2.
Can we not change the schedule and kick out the final date by a couple days to accommodate a full site visit?
He's saying move it to maybe the next week even if we needed to.
Well, you're scheduled the following week to make your decision on that Tuesday.
Yeah, but that's because that's the date that we set.
Right.
We could move that deadline to the following week, just as easily.
Up to you folks, sure.
Is there a problem with that?
I don't have a problem
I
with
don't
it.
have a problem. I don't have.
I think that the issue is if we want someone to start July 1st.
We don't even know if that will happen.
If we want someone to start July 1st, and we're making the decision already June 30th, so that leaves a pretty tight time.
Between June 30 and July 1st?
I'm sorry, May 31st.
The early parties.
We're making the decision May 31st. Our superintendent is out at the end of June, so if we don't have a superintendent in place July 1st, we would have to have an interim superintendent.
And we still
And-
we would still need to
Negotiate a
negotiate. So there's time for that too.
And I wish to be here for all of that, but if we move it, it's gonna interrupt into,
Can we move the May 31 day to, that's a Tuesday, to instead June the 2nd, which is Thursday? We'll move that meeting from Tuesday to Thursday?
And do the site visit when?
Well, I don't know about site visit availability, but I mean, if the site visit was, for example, on Monday, the 30th,
That's Memorial Day.
then everybody should be, I can go that day. Or Tuesday the 31st.
I'm just opening up my calendar because I want to let you know my availability too.
I could do a site visit on Tuesday, the 31st.
Trustee Corcoran? No,
No, because
she can't do it.
yeah,
What does it give us?
I didn't give up enough.
No, let's just stick with what we got. So the question becomes, do we go Wednesday at 10 or do we go Wednesday at 2? I don't have a preference, but I know that either one of you can't go to one of those, so.
Is there an alternative where we do both site visits on Thursday? So we do one in the morning, one in the afternoon?
What's wrong with
I
that?
just had a question. The purpose of the site visit is to be there when the children are there? Or in every, no, that's not.
Not just the children, but you.
I mean, you know, like the
Well, that's the
administration, like the
admin.
building is actually work, like,
It-
moving
No,
around.
It's actually more the
'Cause I didn't go
admin, more the admin, those that they wish to have there represent their, for references and so forth,
'Cause-
maybe the round robin.
Because don't they get off work at a certain time? That's what I was at. They like, school's over at like 3. But you're saying it doesn't
I think
matter?
they'd stay for this purpose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I talked to
Oh.
Mr. Abdulahad, I asked him specifically for that reason, knowing that part of the site visit would bleed over into past the end of the school day.
Right.
But they would just have to be, for example, if they were to have board members available, those are probably folks that could come later in the day where the school hours wouldn't matter.
Okay.
If they have parents present, that might apply to them too. So he indicated confidence he could make that work. So I guess the question would be, if he could make, which I'd have to check, if you folks could do it, we've got our one candidate scheduled from 9 to 1, so we'd be looking at a 2 to 6 on Thursday. Question would be, could the three of you do that? Or do you want to do that?
I'm flexible.
Okay.
Darn,
Sorry.
can't do it.
Trustee Lunkins, would you be able to participate in the site visits if you have a ride to the,
Number one, if I had a ride, and number two, it depends on how much walking.
so
Because if
would
there's
these,
a lot of walking, I can't do it.
right, would these site visits involve a lot of walking, or would it be usually sitting in a conference room and meeting with people?
What I advise the candidates to do is the bulk of it's going to be them arranging for various stakeholder groups to come to you. So it wouldn't be walking. They do quite often though, and I give them this option, either at the beginning or the end, they may take in a little bit of a walk just to kind of show you a bit of the facility you're in or the district. So that's to be determined because it's up to the candidate as possible.
And then you got the stairs.
Yeah, if they're going to take in a bit of a tour, I can't speak to, again, is it going to be multiple buildings, exactly where it would be, I
So
don't
could I
know.
suggest that, what if we do Wednesday at 2 and Thursday you said at 1, at 9?
You're right, that's going to be a 9 to 1.
Thursday 9 to 1 and Wednesday at 2, and then I could give Trustee Lunkins a ride. If there is walking and she's not able to participate in that, then we'll keep you someplace not comfortable, and we'll
Lock
come
me up
back.
in the kids' room.
That,
But like I said, if it's a lot of walking and if it's going up and down the stairs, I can't do it. I'll be honest with you. That's why I didn't volunteer
right.
for those reasons. Other than that, it wouldn't have been a problem because I'm flexible. I could do that. But those are 2 reasons why I didn't.
So we're saying it can't be 2, it has to be 3.
No, I.
Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't
It
have
could
to
be
be.
2, but we don't have the
I
same,
prefer 3.
but we don't have the same 2 available for either of the, it would be 2 with one candidate and a different 2 with the other candidate.
So, Thursday we good, we got 3. So really the question is, do we want to do this at, make sure I get this right, 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock on Wednesday? Someone just can't go.
What about virtual? Sorry, this is looking like,
Here's what I would say
I
to
don't think
that.
that would resolve anything.
During the depth of COVID, we did some virtual site visits, but what I would kind of insist on is you want to be equitable. So if you're doing an on-site visit for one, you want to do it for both. If you're doing virtual for one, you want to do it for both.
That's right.
But I'm
But
just,
I don't think that's, if Trustee Corcoran has work and I have work, so if we are at work, we can't do
Virtual
virtual.
doesn't
but
resolve it.
clarity, you stated on Wednesday, you asked the question 2, on Wednesday and 3 on Thursday?
No.
Oh.
Thursday was solidified, I thought, whatever time that is, I thought that was done.
But
9
the
to 1.
amount,
9 to 1, Thursday is
yeah,
set.
that's right.
So now we're on Wednesday.
Because I can go Wednesday, but it would be in the morning.
It's
and
gotta
then-
be,
And
right.
Mr. Smith said he could join me. No.
Well, he said he could go either
He's
time,
either-
and
right.
you said you go in the morning, he said you go in the afternoon, so I guess the question is, which one is that going to be?
Oh,
Is it the morning or the afternoon? I don't have a preference, but I want to make sure you all decide that now. You're going to figure that out now, so is it the morning or is it the afternoon?
I'm gonna be frank with you, when we did the last superintendent search, honestly, it was a boardroom setting or conference room setting. We really didn't do much walking around. I don't see why this can't be done virtually, at one point to make it easier for everybody,
Do a virtual for one, we have to do a virtual for the
But
other.
again, I don't think the virtual resolves anything.
Right. The thing is, which one are we choosing? Let's
It's
just
due
choose.
to availability. What are your thoughts, Mr. President?
I'm fine either way. I just want us to pick one and be done with it. So I don't have a preference. I know you can't make it. You can't make it in the morning. Dawn can't make it in the afternoon. So, right? I mean, will somebody just say, fine, you go where you go, or do I need to make the decision myself?
I'm
The president.
Been hearing that all day. Okay, so no one's gonna just say one or the other, right? So we'll just go. Well, what time is the one on Thursday? 9?
It's 9 to 1.
Okay, we'll just go in the morning on Wednesday.
I-
We'll be done with
I
it.
just have another question.
Go ahead.
Can't we get a wheelchair for Miss?
So if we do that, then we go in the afternoon and you don't go and she
Right.
goes. That's we
Yeah.
could. If that's what
Yeah,
I don't know what they have there, but
Well,
we
I
could-
have a wheelchair at home if you need one. I mean, if you
With
don't
the
know,
chair,
I
you
know
don't
I have a
there's
wheelchair.
stairs and
we
there's
don't
not
know if
stairs.
their buildings are ADA compliant, all that. I mean, we don't know that stuff. But if Trustee Lunkins wants to go, Trustee Hoyter will take her, and we can get that done in the afternoon right away. Trustee Lunkins?
Like I said, I'm concerned about the amount of walking the stairs.
Well, let's do this.
Because
You sound like
I'm
you're yielding.
No, I'm like.
Not
this.
you.
If I'm gonna go to one of the, I really go through the whole thing and not just part here and part there. Because I've been on those sites before.
It doesn't sound like there's much
It's
to
not
it other
much,
than
it's
sitting
not
down.
much, it's not much.
So what we'll do is, we'll go in the afternoon on Wednesday then. And I'll leave it up to you all to figure out if you want to go or not. But Trustee Hoyter and
Hold on a
Trustee...
second, so then, is Trustee Lunkins going both Wednesday and Thursday?
No,
Okay,
that would
so
not.
it'll be Trustee Lunkins on Wednesday and Trustee Corcoran on Thursday.
If you can convince Trustee Lunkins to go on Wednesday, then that's fine. But you and Trustee Smith will go Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday morning, it will be Trustee Corcoran, Trustee Smith, Trustee Hoyter with Thursday morning. Got it? We good?
We're good.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Silver?
That's it.
Lovely. The time is now 9:01. I assume there is no objection to us adjourning. If so, we could do that by unanimous consent. Is there?
To announce the next meeting.
The next meeting, thank you for that. Next meeting, you know what the next meeting is? The next meeting is Monday at 7 o'clock, right here in this space. What day of the week? What
23rd.
Thank you. It's Monday, it's the 23rd. We'll be right here in the same spot, 7 p.m.
That's a
And
regular board meeting.
It is regular board meeting. And since there is no objection to us adjourning for unanimous consent, we are now adjourned at 9:01.
There's